Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we'll be learning how to make our own almond milk. And it's actually quite new, like I haven't been making my own milks for very long. I was actually using store-bought milks, but I just found that there was just way too much wastage, and after you open it, you have to use it, within a few days, and I still treated it as food grade when, using it in my soap recipes, because, you don't want to have any incidences with DOS or, any spoilage at all. So I found that, the last few months, me making my own, obviously, you save money, of course, because you can make a much larger quantity for a fraction of the cost. And you actually know what you're putting in it, so there's no other gums and other additives in it, which, you don't really want all those gums in your soap. And I found that using a large amount of those store-bought milks with the gums also can create like a stickiness to the bar as well. So I found that making your own reduces that stickiness as well. And obviously, it's a lot more concentrated than what you buy in store-bought. I know almond milk, store-bought almond milk, whether it's organic or conventional, I think it's 3% almonds to the water ratio. So every 1 litre or 1,000 grams of almond milk, it's actually what makes that 1 litre is mostly water, of course, plus only 3% almonds, which is 30 grams, which is not that much when you think about it. But still the flavour's there and it's still nice. But for soap making, for almond milk, I do a 5% ratio. So that's 50 grams per 1 litre or 1,000 grams, which I find to be a really nice sweet spot. With almond and oat milk, if you guys, watch my oat milk video, never go above 10%, because it does also create that greasy stickiness feeling that you get from, very similar to what you get from 100% olive oil soaps. You know how it's got that greasy feeling, even though it's really nice on the skin regardless, like your skin feels great after you wash with it, but it's just, you don't really want that greasiness, that greasy sticky feeling. So I find sticking below 10% is a really good ratio to stick with. Plus, the only exception is obviously coconut milk, and obviously goat's milk and cow's milk. You can go, the full 100%, like as in if you get fresh cow's milk or goat's milk, you can just use that for the complete water phase. With coconut milk, if you're making your own, don't go above 20% as well, because it does kind of, again, create that stickiness that you really want to avoid in your soap recipes. So those figures are generally the rule that I work under. Right, so to go over the recipe information, I stuck with 6% olive oil, 30% virgin coconut oil, 5% castor oil, and 5% cold pressed almond oil. I do call this particular recipe, I call it the double almond bar, because I'm using almond oil and almond milk. And I may actually create a recipe in the future. I'll probably call it a triple almond bar, whereas I won't chug out the leftover almonds at the end when I extract the milk from it. I might just actually ground it down some more really fine and use it as an exfoliant in the soap. So it's more like a zero waste initiative, if you will. I already do that with coconut oil and the coconut bars. I do have a coconut recipe, I call it the triple coconut bar. So I actually use coconut oil, coconut water, and coconut milk, and that's what I call the triple coconut bar. And it's really beautiful on the skin. Coconut water, if you've ever made soap with coconut water for the water phase, it's actually really, really nice. It creates a ultra hydrating bar. It's full of electrolytes. It's really, really great on the skin. But I digress. I'm easily influenced by other recipes, so we'll stick on point. For this water. It's obviously because I've made my own almond milk. With the almond milk, I do add salt and sugar. So I take into account when I'm actually weighing out my almond milk. So it's not going to be a pure 1,000 grams for this recipe. So if you read the description, it's actually, I think, it's actually 1168 grams because you're countering in the sugar and the salt that's added. So if you were to add just 1,000 grams, you are actually, it's actually more of a water discount, which is totally fine, but you're not getting the full 3% and 1.2% of salt that you would be getting if, without using the milk, if you were just to add those additives into your distilled water before adding the lye. So it'll be a less concentrated sugar and salt solution, lye solution. So you have to actually take into consideration the weight of the sugar and the salt as well. So just to point that out, and I've provided just the calculation and the reasoning behind that in the description if you want to head down there. And of course, across all my recipes, the standard is 3% raw sugar, 1.2% of pink salt and sodium lactate, and 0.7% natural vitamin E for antioxidant properties. And what I'll be scenting these bars with is a beautiful blend of equal parts of patchouli, rose geranium and lime distilled. And the reason why you use lime distilled, there's two reasons. One, that there's no phototoxicity in lime distilled, whereas if it's cold pressed and you happen to use it on your skin and then you go out in the sun, it can actually burn your skin. So it's also known as photosensitivity. So you don't want to use cold pressed. I mean, for soap, it is a wash off product, so it should be okay even if you use cold pressed. But I find lime distilled sticks a hell of a lot better than normal cold pressed lime. So if it was like to liquid soap or something that you add at room temperature, cold pressed lime is fine if that's what you have on hand. But usually distilled lime is cheaper for the consumer, and it sticks so much better, especially in cold processed soap when it's going through that reaction. So that's why I tend to lean towards lime distilled. And these three combinations together just create such a lasting aroma. I find that after my shower, and I use this even up to an hour after, if I smell my skin, I can still smell the blend. It's just amazing, and the whole bathroom after a shower just smells like it. So it's such a really, really good blend together, and it just creates such a lasting aroma. So definitely give this blend a try. It doesn't have to be in this particular recipe, but if you're a cold process soap maker, whether a hobbyist or a business, definitely try this blend out. It's just such a beautiful combination. Right, so for the almond milk, soak your required almonds by weight in distilled water. Do not use tap water. So soak for 24 hours and then I'll show you what happens. Hi everyone, today I'm making a really large batch of almond milk so I can use in future recipes and soaps that I make already with almond milk. I do a 5% almond to water ratio, and usually when you buy almond milk it's actually 3%, it's very weak, but I find 5% for cold process soap making to be the sweet spot. Like with oat milk at 10%, with rice milk I do 5% as well, and with almond milk I do 5%. So 5% of 250 grams is 12.5 grams. So in here is 450 grams of almonds. I let them soak in distilled water, only distilled water, don't use tap water, distilled water. And that's for any milk that you make, always use distilled water. So I'll just rinse this out and I'll show you how I do my almond milk. With almond milk it is different from oat milk. Oat milk you can make 5 or 10 minutes, but with almond milk, you have to let it sit for 24 hours. So you just want to get all the almonds out. Alright, I need a spoon just to get the last little bits. And I transfer it over here. That's, you tip that out, you don't use that. That's just soaking up all the excess, I think it's the enzymes, they said the enzymes. I'm not too sure what's in here. I'm sure it'll be fine. I don't know why people don't use that. It's not to drink, but I'm pretty sure it's the enzymes, from what I've read. That's why you tip that out and you don't use it. And then what I do, I don't, again, you have to rinse them. I don't rinse them in tap water, clearly because I want to keep it as clean as possible. So I get some distilled water again. And I just make sure it's nice and rinse clean. Just doesn't have to be anything big. That's it. Just a little bit, just to rinse off any excess residue. And again, tip that out. That's going to be washed anyway. So here we have the almonds, 450 grams, which makes 9 litres of almond milk. Of course, if you were going to drink it, you probably would want to make it stronger. You probably would want to do a 25% to water ratio. But for cold processed soap purposes, and this is why I use this personally, 5% is more than enough. I was using 3% before when I used to buy my almond milk, but now I'm making my own. I do 5%. And it's plenty. It adds a lot of creaminess at 5%. So you definitely still realise the benefits at 9%. So I'm going to weigh out 9 kilos of distilled water, or 9 litres, because water and by weight and volume are the same, so it doesn't matter, but I like to weigh it anyway. So let's do 9 litres. And I freeze all these. I have a chest freezer, and I put them in these ice cube trays, and I just stack the chest freezer up with, oat milks and almond milks, rice milks. I haven't played with any other type of milks. I only make those 3, but I'm very keen to try quinoa milk, and like chia as well. So maybe I will try something like that in the future. And as you, from my previous video, if you know, I save these for storing my liquid soaps. So these are really handy. So let's do some more. Oops. And now it's spilled everywhere. So the packet I bought had 450 grams in there of almonds. So I I just poured the whole thing in. So this is a 17-litre stockpile, so that's why I'm able to make such a high amount. So that's 9, perfect. This is even. I've made a bit of a mess with water, so wipe all that up. Actually, I made a big mess with the water, not a little mess. Spill water everywhere. But yeah, it's really important to use distilled water when you're making your milks, because you don't want it to spoil and you don't want anything to go bad in your recipe, your cold press soap recipe. And of course, with the almonds, I make sure they have a really long shelf life. I don't buy almonds or oats that have, a few months shelf life on them. I like to make sure that they have at least, or as close to 2 years as possible. So that's generally what I like to do. So I will actually use my gloves for this. So it's not as quick as oat milk. Oat milk is very, very quick. I have made almond milk for soap at 10% before. And you can, but as soon as you go over the 10%, it can, I find, it gets a little slimy in the cold processed soap, like after it cures and stuff when you go to use it. I feel like if it's too much oat milk or almond milk, anything above 10%, I find that it's really, really slimy, and you don't want that sliminess. I find it's very similar to, cold processed soaps that, that are like 90% or 100% olive oil, and 100% olive oil is really gentle on the skin, but it's got that greasy sliminess to it. If you have too high of a percentage of oat milk or almond milk in your water ratio, it can have that same feeling, I found. So I just found 10% across the board is a really, really good number to stick with, and it just provides a really nice, creamy, luxurious lather. So you don't need a really high-tech blender. I don't use a high-tech blender. I mean, you can. I do have this, which it works really well in smaller quantities. This does 1,500 mils or 1.5 litres worth, but of course I've outgrown this and I need to make much higher volumes. So a stick blender that I use for my cold process soap making is more than enough. As you will shortly see, you don't need anything high tech, just a normal stick blender, because these almonds are they're definitely soft enough to be ground up because they've been soaking for actually more than 24 hours. Right, so I just leave it for a while. I let it soak. You can probably leave it for another 24 hours, but I leave it for a few hours and I'll come back and give it another burst. So you don't have to, it's best to, because I'm making such a big quantity, I like to let it sit there for a bit and let it soak. Now the almonds are all broken up, and as you can see, it's really, really nice and milky. I will come back after maybe 2 hours and I'll give it another burst, and then I add my sugar and my salt to it after I strain the almonds out. And then I mix it again, make sure it's all incorporated as much as possible. I let it sit again for maybe another hour, and then I burst it again and just make sure that all the sugar and salt is dissolved as much as possible. It doesn't have to be 100% dissolved, that's fine. As long as it's mostly dissolved, because it will dissolve as you add the lye to your almond milk. So this is how I do it. And I thought I'll make a video on how I do my almond milk. And I use this in my double almond recipes. And I call them double almond because I use almond oil in the recipe. And of course I make my own almond milk. So it's that easy. It's so easy to make your own milks. It is obviously time consuming in a sense of, there's a lot of idle time when you're making your own milk, but it's so beautiful in your soap recipe. And I highly recommend you try almond milk that you make yourself in your cold processed soap recipe. You will hands down notice the difference between store-bought as well, and it just adds a really, really nice lather. So stay tuned, and you'll see me add the other additives to the milk, like the sugar and the salt, and I'm just going to speed up the video of making a double almond recipe that I do: lime, rose geranium and patchouli. And I'm using a slab as well, so I won't be talking throughout the making of the soap itself, because I don't want this video to be too long. So yeah, stay tuned and see you at the end. Right, so I made it to the end. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to share and like this video and subscribe to my channel, and head on over to Facebook and Instagram. I tried to keep the video as short as possible, but I thought I'd go into as much detail as possible and as comprehensive as possible, just to give people, an idea of how to create their own, almond milk, and to try a new project out, like a fun little project. And it's just to showcase, like, how I do, how I make my soaps, and any additives that I happen to make. So I hope you've enjoyed the video and you found it useful. Until next time, happy soaping and happy almond milk making, and take care. Bye for now.